Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wolverine Studios Developer Dynasty here on our Twitch channel. We are very excited to bring to you the final in our Developer Dynasty streams for Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2022. And I say it's the final one because tomorrow will be the official launch of the game from both our site at wolverinestudios.com and it will be available on Steam as well. So we appreciate everybody who tuned in to the streams over the past month or so, and a little bit before that. We got some great feedback in our streams. We got some great feedback through the first access process in our forums, and now we are ready to launch. Of course, after launch, absolutely, want you to keep the feedback coming to us. We always put out a few updates. Of course, we'll patch any issues that may arise, but we like to have updates that add in little things here and there too, post-launch. So, if you come upon something while you're playing and you have ideas, don't be afraid to share them in our forums and our Slack channel, through our social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, things like that. If they're, big ideas for the game, obviously we can't add that in post-launch, but if you do have some big ideas, share them with us as well, and we'll keep them in mind for the future, because we're always thinking about the next version down the road, thinking about how we can improve the game, and we want to make it the best that we can. So we always look for your feedback, appreciate your feedback, and if it's small things, small tweaks that make the game better that we can throw in there, we will post release. And if they're big things, we'll think about them for the 2023 version. Before we begin, as always, huge thanks to our followers and our subscribers to the channel. We really appreciate the people who subscribe, or through their own out of their own pocket, or through the Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime link where they get the free sub every month. So we appreciate those who use that on us and support kind of a different Twitch channel. Obviously we're on only during development periods of the year. It's not something like we weekly play or daily play or things like that. So we appreciate people who get a unique look at a game as opposed to necessarily seeing a playthrough. We're doing this to connect with our audience and to get feedback, get ideas, things like that. So tonight we are going to look at some of the off-season stuff. I've got a fictional league here I've set up, and we're just going to talk about some of the new off-season things, as well as go through just if some of the basics if you're new to the game. Jeannie's in the chat. Hey, how you doing? You didn't miss anything. We're just getting started. So one thing, if you need a reminder of what to do, there's always this alert button up here that will bring up a pop-up, and it says today is the day that we're going to deal with contract issues going into the next season. So we're going to click on the contracts button and see what we have to deal with. You'll notice that currently it says we are 2.36 million over the cap, but we have a lot of contracts that are listed as UFA, so that's unrestricted free agent. If you need some help, you can always click the contract help button, and it will tell you what all of those things stand for. So the UFAs are basically the guys that they can be signed by anybody, but in basketball, players have what's called a cap hold, and this is so that if you have bird rights to those players, obviously as an over the cap team, you can sign players from your own bird rights players if you're over the cap, whereas other teams can only sign them if they have cap room or the exceptions available. So the cap hold counts against you in the meantime to make sure that you don't use cap space, which really doesn't exist, to sign other players and then come back and sign your own players once you're back over the cap again. But if you want to get under the cap, then simply what you're going to do is highlight the player, and the renounce button becomes active. So when you renounce the player, you lose your bird rights to him, and he becomes an unrestricted free agent, but you get that cap money back. So, in this case, Matt Bradley is 37 years old. He's a 2-star player, not very highly rated, and he's got a $19 million cap hold. So that is not going to be particularly useful for my team, which was a poor team anyways. So that is a player I want to renounce. And you'll watch, we went from 2.3 million over to the cap, and now we're 17 million under the cap by renouncing him. Since we renounced him and we're going to play as a cap space team here, there's really no reason to be hanging on to bird rights because I can re-sign those players anyways with cap space. So Desmond Horton is going to get renounced. And now you see we have 32 million in cap space. Who else do we have here? Major Jepson. He's going to be renounced. Breeze, Kid Coffee, welcome to the stream. Kid Coffee Black says I made it. Can't wait for release. Can't wait to get it out there either. Let's finish releasing our unrestricted free agents here. We've got 2 more. And 1 more. So as you can see, by the time we're done with this, we started 2 million over the cap. Now we've got 46 million in cap space to play with. There's still a couple of other guys to deal with here. Damian Self has QO. So if you click contract help, you'll see that as a qualified offer, player is eligible for a qualifying offer to make him a restricted free agent. So I have 2 choices here. I can either renounce him, or I can submit the qualifying offer, which will allow me to match an offer if another team makes it during free agency. Otherwise, if nobody offers on him during free agency, he'll play 1 more year at 9.3 million, and then he would become an unrestricted free agent the following year. So he is a 2.5-star player. He's 27 years old. He scored 13.5 points per game. He's also looked like he's maxed out his potential already. So, he's not. We might be able to do something better with the 9 million in free agency. So I'm going to get rid of him as well. Now we've got 55 million. Our first round pick was Jarnay Michaud. As you can see, he's automatically got that first year and then the second year built in, as first round picks do. And then you can offer him exercise option for the 3rd and 4th year. You don't have to do that right away when you draft him. Just like in real life, you can wait till next season and see how it plays out. That's the case here with Emmett Sessoms. He's 21 years old. He's on a rookie contract. He is a sharpshooter player type, really good outside shooter. He could be a guy who could be like a bench spark, maybe. Career high was 27 points. Our staff doesn't think a lot of him, but he's cheap, so I think we'll pick up that option there. This will give him the 3rd season of the rookie contract. And our other draft pick was Tim Jackson. You see, he is not signed. 2nd round picks are not automatically signed. We've added a new option here, though. When you go to sign the rookie, there is the option for a 2-way contract now for 2nd round picks. So if you have 2-way slots open, you get two 2-way slots. So if you haven't used those, then you can assign him a 2-way contract. And again, in this game, 2-way contracts work a little bit differently than in real life because it's awfully difficult to navigate the sending up and sending down and stuff like that. So in the game, when you sign them to a 2-way contract, they're assigned to your D-League team and they play there. And then if you want to call them up to your main roster, it automatically converts them to the regular contract at that point. Right now, I don't have to make a decision on him quite yet, so we will not. And that takes care of all of our contracts for right now. So we're going to advance. And I see Kid Coffee Black is happy that we've added that 2-way option for the second round picks. Again, that was something that maybe it was even Kid Coffee who had mentioned it in one of the streams. That was just a user suggestion that we added in. We have to do the scheduling. That only takes a second. And now we move on to the Summer League portion. So we've got an email. We'll go to the email box. One email you get too before you do your contract decisions is this free agency evaluation. So this is an individual email for your team. It's a report of the top free agents in the league. So not necessarily players I could sign, but kind of the top guys. And you see, a thing about each one of them for, money. And of course, at the time when this evaluation was done, we didn't have cap space. So it said that we didn't have the cap space at the time because this was before the contract decisions. What kind of role they like, if we have enough talent for them. So these top guys, it says they want to play with better talent than what we have. No surprise that the top guys in the league would not want to come to a rebuilding team. And also this, it says he's close with Emmett Sessoms, who we just extended on that rookie contract. So it's kind of an idea of, if you go and look at the players, maybe it'll help you get a little bit of a learning and understanding of how the personalities are starting to mesh in this game. So I'll click on Blake Jones, and if I go to the player profile, I can see he's a craftsman personality type. So in my mental notes, if I go and look at where's Emmett Sessoms, he is a guardian. So obviously there's something there between guardian and craftsman where they might work well together. So you start thinking about these things as you get into the game and start figuring out which personality types work well with each other. Of course, there's also the in-game notepad that you can always type your own notes here, and keep oops, I keep hitting that backspace button. I shouldn't. I might have to fix that. But you can put notes there in the game for what you're discovering and things like that. We need to invite players today. It's getting ready for the Summer League. So it says first add your own players to the roster, and then you can invite players who aren't part of a roster. So we'll go to our team roster and find the guys who are eligible to play on our Summer League team. So Chandler, Sessoms, who else can play Summer League? Our draft picks. So we're going to have 5 guys who can play on the Summer League team. And again, we haven't signed Jackson. So, you have that opportunity to let your second round pick play in the Summer League and see how he does before you have to sign him. Just don't forget about it. Otherwise, he'll just be unsigned and be wiped out. So now we're just going to fill out the rest of the Summer League roster by inviting different players. And each team gets to go through and invite players. We need we need a power forward. Well, there's a good defender here. Let's bring him in. So this gives you an opportunity, because it will sim the Summer League games, and maybe to look for guys who are undervalued, or guys that you might want to put on like a 2-way contract or something like that. So it's it's not like a useless kind of window dressing type thing. There really is a point to the Summer League. What else do we need here? We got a couple point guards, a couple shooting guards, a couple small forwards. We could use another power forward. I'm not particularly looking these guys over all that closely. I'm just kind of trying to fill out the Summer League roster here. So that we can get moving. All right, so we've got our Summer League roster there. Let's see. Kid Coffee Black says, ever thought about having like a draft possibly, or like advances so you can't stack your team and the AI can take picks as well? The AI does take picks as you go. So it lets you make one, and then all of the AI teams will make one while you're going through there. So we are ready for the Summer League. I always like to just save every so often. And we're going to just sim the Summer League. So like I said, the Summer League does have, a benefit in letting your players, actually play in games who typically wouldn't play on your, your normal roster. So it doesn't just like make up stats for them or something like that. It actually is simulating the games in the background. You can watch them and play them in 2D mode too if you want. But it kind of gives you an opportunity to see guys in, in being put through the game simulation engine to see maybe if you've got somebody who who could be a useful player. So before we go into free agency, we can go to the stats, and it's showing us the Summer League stats. Well, actually, that's where's I have to click on the Summer League. So Summer League stats. Who's our leading scorer? Arthur Martin. And he's a free agent. He's a 1.5 star player, 2.5 star potential. And again, I always mention this when we're talking about the stars. In the game system, this isn't like, other basketball games where, you think everybody should be a 90. A 2-star player in the game is a rotational player. So 2 stars are not worthless. So, a 2.5 star player may have some value at some point. So he may be a player to target, in free agency if we're looking to pick up somebody, cheap at the end, maybe even a two-way guy. He could, could fill out a D-League spot for us next year, or, watch him in the D-League and see if he's playing well, and then sign him to our roster if he's not on anybody else's roster. So that gives you, a look at what happened during Summer League. You can see, the basic stats. There's the shooting stats and the advanced stats. So everything is there from the Summer League games. Don't forget that on the league media screen, there is also the free agency preview. And that will, you can use that as a tool to evaluate, kind of what, again, what like the the in game is the WSSN, the Wolverine Studios Sports Network. So that's kind of like going to that website and seeing like who they think players will sign with and stuff like that. So that's always an option for a little bit more depth. Let's see. You can also check your email for the Summer League recap and see. Let's see, Atlanta defeated Orlando in the final, so Atlanta won the Summer League championship. You can see the guys who are the per game leaders. I'm not seeing anybody from my Golden State Spartans on that squad, so we obviously do not have a ton of great young players here. Brad Hill was the points per game leader, and he was first round pick 20 in this past draft. So obviously he had a very good Summer League. But all those players are clickable, and it can take you right to right to their player card if you want some more information about them. And the players with the league logo means that they are just a free agent. So Jason Wallace averaged over 22 points per game during the Summer League. He's a free agent. There must be something there if he scored that many points. Maybe he's a guy that you could bring in during free agency. Looking over our roster, we have $55 million in cap space. Our best player, our highest rated player, at least maybe not the best player, but highest overall player is Jarny Michel. He was our first round draft pick, so he was the 6th pick overall in this past draft. So you can tell what kind of situation this team is in. Not very good, obviously. So we could really use anything here. Woolham is probably good enough to start at shooting guard. So Woolham and Michel. Other than that, point guard, power forward, center, we can definitely use anything along those lines. But again, being not a very good team, we probably will not be a very attractive option to the best players. So we're going to take a look at free agency here and talk about, kind of some of the improvements and things that have been happening here. Of course, up here is your roster, and you can always click on those players to bring up the player card if you want to. Your cap status, any offers you've made will be here. Up here at the top, this is new this year, it says 5 meetings left today. So the player meetings are new and important to establish kind of a rapport with any of the players that you're going to try to sign, and also get some information about them. You can also click the rumors button up here. There's never any rumors right at the start, but as we get going, there'll be rumors there for who might sign where, things like that. So there's a lot going on here. Down here also, if you click on any of these players here, let's see if we can find somebody who's and again, now if the player states RFA, it means that he's a restricted free agent and that his team will be able to match an offer. So when you see guys like that, you don't want to throw out low offers to RFAs, because whoever has the rights to match that will certainly match a low offer, and they'll get that player for cheap. So this kind of represents the ability that teams have where they call them poison pill contracts or things like that, where you really want to, if you're going after an RFA, you really want to make an offer that either the other team's not going to match, or that if they do match, it's really going to mess them up. It's really going to be a bad contract they're stuck with, over the period of the contract. Otherwise, it's always, if you really wanted that player, you have to wait for another year to see if he ends up in the free agent pool as an unrestricted free agent. So maybe if I really wanted Blake Jones, he seems to be happy where he's at. So it's probably not going to be a situation where he won't want to re-sign with his prior team, which happened to be Philadelphia. So he's probably not a likely target. But if you do have a player who's in a situation where he's unhappy and maybe wants to get out, he might be a guy that if you wait on a year, he'll be there. Let's take a look at Donnie Brewer here. He's 31. Decent rebounder, not a very good shot blocker though. But let's pull him up anyways. You can always add them to a target list and remove them for a target list. So if I were to add him to our target list, and if I want to go through first and add all my targets, and then I can just click this box and it'll only show the players that I was targeting. Some people like to do that and kind of narrow down the list that way. Other people don't use the target players at all and just look through the whole list every time. It's kind of however you want to handle it, whatever works for you. If I click this button, I can make an offer to him. But I'm not ready to make an offer yet. We'll go through the offer stage in a bit. First, I want to use one of my 5 meetings, and you get 5 meetings every day, so you can't just come through and meet with everybody on day 1. That's not realistic anyways. So I'm going to click the Have Meeting button, and it's going to bring up a meeting with Donnie Brewer. It tells me his top team, he'd like to go to Oklahoma City. He wants $12.6 million a year for 3 years. His greed is 3 out of 5. Play for winners 3 out of 5. Playing time 2 out of 5. You find out his personality type here, and he does have a 4 out of 5 level of interest in my team because I've got a lot of money. So obviously that interests everybody. I have the opportunity to ask questions, so I can ask him about roster likes. And he says that he's pretty good friends with Michael Claxton and Emmett Sessoms. So if we've seen this now, remember the first player we looked at from the email, he was a craftsman type, and he had a relationship with Sessoms, who was a guardian, and now Donnie Brewer is saying that he also has a relationship with Sessoms. So Sessoms kind of becomes a valuable player for me because maybe he's not a player who's going to play a lot, but it seems that people tend to get along with him pretty well, and maybe if I get in a position of being a better team, then having him on my roster might be the thing that actually brings a good player to the team in the end. So again, this personality type thing is really woven into the fabric of the game, and you've got to be aware of that, unless of course you've turned it off when you create your league. I can ask him anybody who doesn't like, so he doesn't get along with Marcus Chandler and Sam Morris. And as you know your roster better, you'll know how important those players are. And is the free agent more important than those players, or are those players more important? And you don't want to bring in a guy who might be a disruption. And again, this is just might. Just because they don't get along doesn't mean that there will be problems. Especially if the team is winning and things are going well. It's usually when you're not winning and things are going poorly that the problems start to come out. Jeannie asks, how many questions can you ask per meeting? You can ask all 5 of these if you want, or whatever amount you want. It's not like the college game when you only get so many questions to ask per session. You can ask, but I guess in some ways it is, because you can only have 5 meetings, so the max amount of questions you're going to be able to ask is 25. Our chances right now, he's told us Oklahoma City is the top team, but we're really close, so at least I know we're in the running. If I meet his demands, so if we're willing to give him the 12.6 a year over 3 years, that tells us that we've got a chance. And he also says Atlanta, Orlando, and Minnesota are in the running. So we can kind of find out who we're competing against. So again, that's the meetings are really important, because you start figuring out things about, okay, I'm competing against this team. What do we think we can get them in over Oklahoma City, over Minnesota, over Atlanta, over Orlando? Obviously, Atlanta and Orlando have decent young teams if they were in the finals of the Summer League. But again, you've got to know your team. You've got to know the other teams in the league. So it really benefits you to not just like fast sim the whole year and then kind of see what happens. You really want to get in and kind of learn the players in the league. And then finally down here, 6 different promises that you can make. You don't have to make a promise. Okay, so let's make sure that's clear. You do not have to make a promise, and you have to make the promise right now if you're going to do it. You can't come back to this meeting screen and then make the promise then. So if I make the promise when I go to make an offer, then that promise will be part of the offer. And those promises are that you're not going to acquire a better player than him. So obviously, he's not a top player. I'm not going to promise that. Promise a player that will have at least 3 4-star or better players on the roster. So, and he could be one of them. He's not, a 4-star player, so he won't be one of them. And I don't have any 4-star players, so I'm not going to promise him that, because I can't meet that promise. And on down the line here, promise that I'll play at least 30 minutes per game. So, you're really promising that, he can play with his friends, that, you've got, a contender or a big 3, or, whatever you think might get him over the hump. But if you promise it and don't live up to it, then not only is he going to be upset with you as an organization, but he may be more inclined to cause trouble within the organization, because he's not going to be happy about anything. So I'm not going to promise him anything. He's not a player worth promising something. But I had the meeting with him, so I can go to make the offer. I know that he wants that $12 million over 3 years. The max I can offer him is the max for his experience, because we have so much cap space. So if I just I'll just do 13 million. I'll give him his 3 years, 5% raise. I can't do more than 4.5, so we'll do 4%. So his contract comes up there. You have the option if you want to do player option, team options, or early term options. I don't want to do any options, and the pitch to player here is not active because I didn't make him a promise. So I'll go ahead and make that offer to him. We're just kind of showing how this works, so I'm not going to do anything else right now. Well, tell you what, let me find somebody who's really good. We do need a center, so let's take Taurus Smith. Let's have a meeting with him. He's a craftsman, so if I click roster likes, surprise, surprise, he likes Emmett Systems. So again, it's starting to kind of figure out where these personalities work. His top choice is Orlando. Right now, I guess it looks like he's telling us that we would have to go over and above to try and get me. So, that's different than the last player told us. So Smith is telling us, look, you've got to pay more than, what I'm looking for if you want to have a shot. And in the running, a lot of the same teams, Minnesota, Atlanta, they must have big money to spend. So this guy was a good player. I can't promise that we're going to be in the conference finals, and we can't promise we'll never have a better player, or that we'll have the promising him that a building block. He's had 10 years in the league already. He's probably not interested in being a building block of a team. So the only thing I can really promise him is that he'll play. So we'll offer the on the floor promise, and that'll be the end of that meeting. And I'm going to make an offer to him, and as you can see down here, it says I've promised to have him on the floor. We've got $42 million in cap space. He's told us it's going to take more than what he's looking for, and he's been around 10 years. So the max offer I can get him, he wants a 5-year contract, which I can't give him as a cap space team. His bird right team could give him that 5th year, so that's why it says 5, and year 5 is grayed out for me. I can't do that, but I can offer him a big contract. Obviously, with only $42 million left to spend after the other offer, this would not be a wise move because I have so many holes to fill. But just for fun, we're going to do it. We'll offer him 4 years, $168 million. So let's advance a day and let everybody get their offers in. And of course, it does ask you to be patient because there's 29 other teams processing all of their possible moves here and having their meetings and things like that. So it does take a little bit of time to go through. And there's no signings from the first day. Not necessarily a surprise. So, when you take those meetings on the, it might be wise to use your 5 meetings that first day, and you might not even have to make an offer. You might use your 5 the next day, get 10 meetings in, and then kind of figure out where you are with players, and see if who you might have the best chance at before before going after anybody. So as you can see, since I've clicked on Taurus Smith, the have meeting button is now grayed out. I can't have a second meeting with him. And the latest rumors, nobody I was interested in. Lee Carter said he's hoping to sign with Chicago. Gary Hudson apparently has an offer from Toronto, 3 years, $47 million, and Tim Reyes from New York, 2 years and $23.8 million. So again, those rumors may or may not be true. So if I was going after one of those players, I might make a decision based on what this rumor. If I was interested in Gary Hudson and I see he's been offered 3 and 47, I might want to top that offer. But again, these rumors could be agent leaks in the game, so that an agent's putting it out there saying that he's got this offer or he's considering signing with this team, and it might not be true. So it's kind of like real life. You don't know what's true or what's not all the time. There's also information. That information, if you go to the league media screen, is there as well. If you come back to click through here to look for things, the information on the rumors shows up here as well. And then you just you carry on from there through the rest of free agency, filling out your team. Again, don't forget about that second round pick if you haven't signed him. You can go back and sign him during free agency here. If I wanted to offer a two-way contract, it would let me do that just by clicking on him, and then it would note him as a two-way player. And then at the beginning of the season, when I get there, he'll automatically be assigned to the D League, and then if I call him up, it'll be converted to a standard contract, just like any other two-way player in the game. So, that's kind of an overview of free agency and some of the off-season tasks. You really could spend a huge amount of time just on free agency alone. You saw all, I only looked at 2 players, and I didn't really look through, needs or what guys would fit best in my system, anything like that. I was just kind of picking players there. So it's really deep. You can really get in there and search for guys that might be a perfect fit for your team. You start looking at not only the overall ratings, and things like I did, but if you start looking for scores and you click on a player, you also got to take into consideration his floor range by percentage, his ball actions by percentage, so whether he's going to fit in with whatever your team is trying to do, whatever your team needs. Does your team need an outside shooter? Does your team need a guy who will drive? Does your team need a spot up shooter? All of those things factor in to looking for free agents. So it's way more involved than just kind of clicking on a guy and making an offer. You really want to find players who are fitting, what you're doing. So hopefully that was, kind of useful and exciting for everybody who's, waiting to get into the game. If this looks like a game for you, you can still go to WolverineStudios.com tonight and still do the pre-order. You can still use the discount code in there, and you can pre-order. I will, if the discount code isn't coming up, I'll check it right after the stream to make sure it's still live tonight, because we were going to launch today, but we decided to push it off a day. So I will check that right after the stream and make sure that's good. But tonight will be the last night you can use those codes to pre-order, and you can download the latest version of the beta, and then tomorrow you can download the release version if you want. Before we go, Rit Flyers, hey, thanks for the retweets and stuff on Twitter as well. Appreciate that. Jeannie asked about Joe Bannister. Why is passing so high? Passing is going to be high for most players, because it's if he gets the ball a lot, 6 out of 10 times he's going to pass it, just as part of through the offense. So it's not, and that's actually a relatively low passing number in the game. So as I start looking through players on my teams, you see 70, 79, 74, 55 for Sessoms. So it's not unusual for that number to be high. Ball Out Next Turn asks, is it out at midnight? First time chat. Thanks, Ball Out. Welcome. Haven't seen that name before here. Actually, if you go and pre-order it right now, again, I'll check that coupon code after this just to make sure, but you can download the same version I'm playing now, and then tomorrow you can download whatever updates and tweaks I make between then and tomorrow. It'll probably be out tomorrow somewhere around 10 or so Eastern time. That'll be the time we launch it on Steam as well. So if you want to play it right now, you can go grab it and play the beta, the last beta build that we have. Otherwise, come by tomorrow morning and we'll have the final release version there at that point. So thanks everybody for coming out to the stream tonight. I hope you're as excited about the game as I am. If you go to our website, if you go to WolverineStudios.com, in the blog section, there is a blog with a lot of details about the new stuff in this year's version. If you haven't seen it yet, if you check out on the homepage If you go to the Pro Basketball 22 link, there's information there. The trailer's there. The trailer's really cool. And that's on YouTube as well. So definitely get ready for a great year of pro basketball here, and make sure you tell your friends. That's the biggest thing anybody can do to help us. In addition to obviously purchasing the games, telling a friend, retweet things on Twitter, get the word out, share that trailer. Anything you can do to bring somebody else into the game, we certainly would appreciate it. So thanks everybody for coming out to all of our Developer Dynasties. We'll be taking a short break from them now as we move into working on the college games, college football and college basketball, and getting ready for those. And then as we get close to launch on those, we'll be back with Developer Dynasties then to showcase what we've been working on in those games. So thanks to everybody for coming out. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you tomorrow for the launch of Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2022. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.